This is the Learn Flute Podcast, Episode 8.
You can do it, and Rebecca will show you how, step by step all along the way. Introducing the Learn Flute Podcast.
Well, greetings today from wherever you are in the world. Now, I'm Rebecca Fuller, the expert at LearnFluteOnline.com, and this Learn Flute Podcast, where I have the pleasure of helping you with your flute learning journey, step by step, and with a lot of fun as well. Now, this morning, I was checking and uploading some new training videos into a new learning module over at LearnFluteOnline.com, and I noticed a little world map in the corner of the page where I host my videos. Well, the interesting thing is that it shows that we have people from literally all corners of the earth learning here at Learn Flute Online. And this cannot make me happier. I am so thrilled to see the universal language of music being spread so far. I actually took a little snapshot of that map and I posted it to the Learn Flute Online Facebook page so you could see it. Now, I have to say, you are a pretty cool bunch of flute learners. Back in episode 5 of this podcast, I talked a little bit about a feature on the flutes which confuses a lot of people when they go shopping for a flute, which makes us wonder if you should use an instrument that has open or closed holes. Well, in that episode, I basically told you it didn't matter so much. And now, as I look through the more common questions I get from people via email or inside the comment sections over on the website, I saw another common thread that I can help you with here today. For example, here is a direct copy and pasted question from a student just the other day. This person says, "Forgive my ignorance, but what exactly is meant by inline G?" Okay, no problem. I can explain this inline G question to you. Now, if you take a flute and put it up to one eye, all put together that is, with the mouthpiece closest to your face, and position it as if it were a telescope, that you were checking out something far away, you'll notice that the keys on top are kind of in a straight line. That is, depending on which G keys you have. So if you look carefully at the two keys on either side of the left-hand pinky key, you know, the one that pokes out so your pinky finger can reach it, take a close look at that key on either side of it and determine if those keys are in line with the other ones or if they are set partially down on the barrel, like tipped downward. A flute that's considered offset will have those two keys positioned on a slant. And that's for a bit of a more comfortable reach for that third finger of yours. So try this. Take your left hand and put it up in front of your face with the back of your hand facing you, palm out. Now check out the size of your fingers. You have your thumb, your first or your index finger. You have your second finger or your tall man, and you have your third finger. I call that one your ring finger since it's the finger we put our wedding bands on, here in America anyway. And the last one is our small pinky. Well, okay, your ring finger, your third one, is responsible for pushing the G key down when you play the flute. Now, if your flute has offset keys, then it'll be easier for that third finger to reach. So now let's answer a little bit more fully the question of what is the inline G. It's a flute that's been made with the G key, which is the one, that we were just talking about right before the poking out pinky key. It's been made so that it's up and in line with the rest of the keys. So your third finger has a lot farther to reach when these are in line, and that's an inline flute. You may be wondering which one is the best. Now here's your answer. I believe that a human being should play their instrument in the most natural position their body could ever be in. And this is because when we have to play for years and years and years, which we all do, we have a lot of repetitive motions. You see a lot of tennis players get something called tennis elbow or even a bank teller who have to use a banking machine every day where they type repetitively on the number pad. They often get something called carpal tunnel syndrome, which is actually a whole nother subject for another day. Well, the reason I bring this up is because flute players have the same issues to think about. Now, to bring it back around here to this inline or offset G question, I have to ask, which position do you feel is more natural for your hand to be in? Well, for me, I actually spent my whole first 8 years of playing the flute on an offset G model. I actually had 4 different flutes during those years, and they were all offset G, which you see actually most student models are in. Then for the next 15 years, I used an inline G flute. And I should say here that I didn't really purchase that flute because of the inline G. It was basically because of everything else. It just fit me really well at that time. But when I was ready for my next flute, I went back to having an offset G because it is just so much more comfortable. I really feel that I play a little faster on the offset G flute because my fingers are laid more naturally. Now, if you've been into any of the lessons over at Learn Flute Online lately, you may see me using different flutes. And that's because I realize there are so many different types and models and makes out there. And I want to let you know that you can learn on any of them, as long as they're in great condition, right? I use student models even all the way down to the little prodigy sized and the curved head flutes too. I use student straight models with offset Gs, and I have a really nice step-up intermediate model that has the inline G that I use quite often in the videos as well. And then also I have some advanced models I use. So I hope this is giving you the idea that it doesn't really matter if you choose a flute that is inline or offset, just as long as you take into consideration that you'll do best for the rest of your life if you're making sure your body is feeling natural. Now for me, I've decided that the offset G is more anatomically correct because my third finger, my G finger, or you could call it your ring finger, is shorter than my second finger. So it'll have farther to reach, and it just makes sense that I would choose the offset keys. Well, next time you may be shopping for a flute, online or off, you are now going to notice this feature and you're going to be smarter for sure. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that little tidbit of knowledge today. I really do have a good time sharing with you, and I want to remind you that if you have any questions you'd like me to answer on air here, all you have to do is go over to my website, learnfluteonline.com/feedback. That's where you'll be able to click to my nifty little online asking software where you can just push the button and talk to me. I'll then put your question in queue, and hopefully you'll hear it here on the Learn Flute podcast someday. Occasionally, I will use your exact recording, so it would be especially great if you leave your name and where you're learning the flute from. That's always fun for us to find out where the rest of our flute friends are here in this world. I love technology, and I love traveling, and I really like meeting you. Speaking of meeting you, I spent some time in the country of Portugal recently where I was able to sit at a nice gelato shop with a few of you who are in my online lesson series, and it was fabulous. And the gelato was really good too. It let me do more than just reach out through cyberspace. There were several of us there, and we had such a great time. I like to know what you're learning, what you're struggling with, and how your journey is going. It helps me put out the content you ask for and need. Today, to end with, I'd like to share a sweet comment from another flute friend in our Learn Flute Online community who says, "You are a great teacher. I knew of a vocal teacher who used to say that she could make a stone sing. I think you could make a stone play the flute." I love it, and thanks so much for the compliment. I appreciate it and wish you well this week in your learning and every other endeavor you have. Bye now.
Thanks for listening today. Remember that this is where people of all ages, such as you, can come, learn, and play the musical instrument flute in an easy-to-follow, organized manner, and in the privacy and comfort of your own home, on your own schedule.